Kids Playground.
Hooray!
This is the Deron Harris Podcast. Here's your host, Deron Harris.
Hey folks, what's good? Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Deron Harris. This is the Deron Harris Podcast. What's good, folks? Right out of the bat, how was your mental health this week? Hopefully you had a good week. My week so far has been all right. A little perilous. Had to get out of the way, evacuate because of the hurricane. Glad we did, because that shit rolled right through where we live. So we dodged a bullet on that one. But we were able to do that because we live in an RV. And today, that is where I am coming to you from for this episode. I am sitting in the front passenger side of my Class A RV. My wife is in the back working. And this is the Deron Harris Podcast. This is how I do it. So today, I'm talking about hate crimes in America and the rise of hate crimes. There's just a bunch of hate crimes circling around. But this hate crime, this hate crime that happened in Jacksonville signifies something that is much, much, much deeper. A much deeper issue. And it's a long-standing issue in this country. And I can't see any foreseeable future where this won't be an issue in this country. I sure hope I'm wrong, but the way things are trucking along, they sure as hell want hate to prevail here. So, I don't know. But the hate crime in Jacksonville was motivated by race. These people were killed because they were black. For no other reason. None of these people knew this man from Adam. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to give him I'm not even going to say his name. He killed those people for nothing. And then he turned the gun on himself. Not for nothing, not in his eyes. He killed them because they were black. That was his sole reasoning. He left a note for his father informing him what he was going to do. I think he was 21 years old. What a dumbass. 21 years old, throwing your whole life away over some racial bullshit that you found on the internet, that you learned on the internet. How stupid. How stupid. Anyway, he killed 3 people, and that raises a poignant question. Are we, in the United States of America, are we headed towards a racial reckoning in this country? And I'll say this, it's much more deep than just a black and white thing. Because, I understood back in the days it was blacks and whites and maybe some Mexicans that white people pushed out of here, and the Indians that white folks pushed out of here. But now, it's everybody. It's Latins from everywhere. It's blacks from everywhere. Black people from everywhere. It's Asians. Indians. There's all kinds of people here now that represent America, or the ideals or the ideologies of America and Americans. And they don't necessarily feel like the fucking Confederacy. But increasingly, a lot of these Republican states, these red states, that is the sentiment. That they are trying as desperately as they can to return themselves back to the days of the Confederacy. Wow. I live in a red state. And my wife and I were actually in Jacksonville because we don't live in Jacksonville, but we live in one of these stick towns out here in the middle. Close to Jacksonville, where we can get to Jacksonville. We're in Jacksonville like an hour. So we went to Jacksonville shopping. And we went to... Where did we go, babe?
Dog store.
Did we... we went to Pet
Supermarket.
We went to Pet Supermarket, and then we went to Joann Fabric.
Then we went to Riverdale.
And then we went down to Riverdale. Thank you, babe. we went shopping. And we saw a bunch of sirens. We saw this. We were in town. We were down the street from where this took place. This very well could have happened where we were. We were in a shopping center. It happened at a Family Dollar or Dollar General, one of the dollar stores. But this guy specifically went to an area to target black people, much like the douchebag who went and shot up the grocery store in Buffalo, killing 10 people. 10 black people went specifically to target black people. Now, like I said, it's a very black and white thing in his mind, but it's not a black and white thing anymore because, like I said, there's all ethnicities with all types of affiliations that have come here and have made their home here. Now, meanwhile, they didn't experience what they experienced in this country. A lot of them can relate because they are people of color and they have been marginalized by white people. I'm just going to call it like it is. And they have been marginalized. And they feel the same sentiment, and they feel sometimes the same discriminations that the black race feels. There are also some white people who are quote unquote woke as fuck, that understand and realize that the shit that's going on in this country is the most stinking of bullshit. And they're doing what they can to do that. Shout out to Jay Yandel. Shout out to Gentry Thomas. They do what they can. And many more than just those two. So many more that have that same sentiment. Are they going to stand for that? Are some people going to... I find it hard to imagine having to make that decision. Where do your loyalties lie? Having to determine, where does your loyalty lie? With your race or with theirs? I don't think it's about race. I think it's about morals. Do you stand with these morals or do you stand with theirs? I know that here in Florida, I've experienced myself so much racism in this state. I've been chased through traffic twice. Chased with the intent to do me bodily harm by groups of white men for no other reason than being black. I was riding with my oldest son's mother. This was, man, I was old, he's 26. This is like 30 some odd years ago. And I'm arguing. We're actually arguing in the car. And a car pulled up next to us. And the driver mouthed something to me. And I couldn't hear what he said. And he kept mouthing it to me. And they were keeping pace with us. And finally, I rolled my window down. I said, "What's up?" And he said, "We're going to kill you, nigger." Just like that. And that was back in those days. Needless to say, they chased us. They chased us for 20 minutes. And finally, they disengaged when they saw this cop. They saw a cop and pulled off. They got out and hit our car with a flashlight, damaging our car. And then they jumped off in their car and drove off. And that was years ago. And that same hatred is still here. Our governor here has passed a bunch of laws to, quote unquote, stop woke. And that's given people a whole new set of balls. So now, and I think this is happening really all across the South and in the red and Republican states. Black issues and things that matter to black people are no longer important. They don't care. They're vocal about it. And they're making legislation towards it. And because of that, their constituents, their followers, their supporters, especially the ones that are far right, have jumped on the bandwagon more than you know and are running with the football. And I think I really think this, I'm just going to fucking say it. I think the black race is being targeted. I think we are being targeted. And I think we're being targeted on purpose. And I think we're being targeted so that we eventually react and retaliate. And when we react and retaliate, that is going to be the start of a major racial conflict in America. And it's not going to be, like I said, just a black and white thing. It's not going to be that at all. It really is not going to be that. It's going to be more of a war of morals. If it ever takes place, it's going to be a war of morals. Because to hate and go to war because you hate someone based on the color of their skin or their religion or their sexual orientation, that's just hate. That's not your right. That's not the way that the world works. That's not the way God intended it. Like so many of them are prone to believe or are so ready to believe. And we'll shout it from the mountaintops that they're Christians. I'm a Christian. I go to church every Sunday. We love Jesus, but we can't stand niggers or Jews or Democrats. And it's just hatred. And it's hatred because of entitlement. They feel that they have been robbed of their entitlement. They're being robbed right now of their quote unquote God-given right to rule over everything on earth. I feel that we're being provoked. And I really do that. They have drawn a line in the sand and they step over it and they push us back into a corner. Then they draw another line in the sand and they step over that line and push us even further back into that corner. And they keep drawing lines and they keep stepping over them and they keep pushing us into these corners. And eventually, if I know black people like I know black people, eventually, we're going to get tired of it. And we're going to start to fucking fight back. And then that's when it's going to be a fucking problem. And that's when it's going to be a fucking problem. It's all right as long as we don't fight back. It's okay as long as we don't fight back. And shout out to black people, man, for having fucking restraint. Shout out to black people, man, for having restraint and not wilding the fuck out. We protest. We do. We protest a whole hell of a lot. But we can't do it alone. It's going to have to be something, you know, that the government going to have to get down with us or something. I was having a conversation with one of my best friends in the world, and actually this friend was on my podcast in the first season, like right in the beginning, one of my first few podcasts. He was on my podcast, and we had a conversation about guns and gun violence in America. And it was a pretty decent podcast. I liked it. But we were having this conversation, and I was telling him that I didn't feel safe here with all of these, you know, Trump supporters and DeSantis supporters. I was starting to not feel safe in the state of Florida. Oh, you're overreacting. Oh, no, it's, you know, you're exaggerating. No, it's not really like that. Yeah, man, it is. No, you can't tell me, man. You can't tell me how I feel. And I'll tell you what, every single time I walk into a store and there's a bunch of MAGA hats standing there, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that something is going to happen to me. Or happen to one of my kids if they're in that situation. Or one of my friends if they're in that situation. And he couldn't believe it. He's a white guy. He couldn't really believe it or put himself, but I had to make him understand that this was my reality. While a lot of you, I told him, I said, listen, you're going to be okay. No matter who gets elected into office, you are going to be all right. You know, it's just another white guy. You know, you're going to be okay. But I may not be okay. What's going to happen to me and my people and people like me? Are we going to continue to be marginalized or things are going to get worse? He told me, oh, you're over. No, I'm not, man. Like I said, every time I go anywhere, and I live, like I said, I live in a town that's pretty close to, it's like an oasis amongst the sticks is where I live. And every time I go out to try and enjoy myself in that area, like we go to a river, you know, we go to a river to kind of float down the river to seek relief. There's a bunch of MAGA hats and rebel flags, and do I feel comfortable? Hell no, but I'm hot as fuck. So me and my wife, we take the chance. And we float down anyway, and we look around the crowd to see how many other black faces, black and brown faces, because she's Spanish. We look to see how many other black and brown faces we see in the crowd, and man, sometimes we don't see any. But I try and hold my chin up, and I go right up, and I pay for my ticket just like everybody else. But man, sometimes we get looks that could kill. Now, I can't say that's all the time because there have been some nice people. Some guy helped us get away from the spiders, and shout out to that guy. But sometimes, man, out there on that river or out there in that environment, man, you wonder. You feel like the fucking Klan is right there. And they look at you like they want to get you. I told him, I said, hey, man, I don't feel safe. I'm starting to feel less and less safe in this state. And I got sisters, cousins, nephews, you know, uncles, aunts. I got all kinds of family here. All kinds of family. And that's why we moved back down. That's why I moved. I'm from the north, but I moved to the south to be around my family. And now it's like, look, man, maybe I should go back to the fucking north. Shit. Motherfuckers passing laws and all kind of shit. There's a senator from Georgia. His name's Colton or something. Colton Moore. Senator from Georgia was quoted and was basically he was suggesting that like civil war could jump off if Trump goes to trial. He put on his social media, and I quote, the social media formerly known as Twitter, and I quote, this is what he said: "I don't want a civil war. I don't want to have to draw my rifle. I just want this to go away," end quote. And oh yeah, you ready to shoot black people, man? Is that what it is? You're a senator. You're calling, and I don't want to say watch it, but if you come across it on social media, just watch this dumbass for a couple minutes because it's some dumb shit. It's some really dumb shit. I don't know, folks. You know, some people I've talked to, they ask me, yo, D, why you think this shit is jumping off like this, man? Why do you think shit is happening like this? And we're going to get into that when I come back from the break.
Spicy like crispy like oh so KFC extra spicy and crispy. Just the right kick for an extra finger-licking good time. Get it at KFC today.
Go on then. Just go. Go north. Go south. Go here. Go uptown. Go downtown. This is not downtown. Go back to basics. Go fish. Then go fish. Go down memory lane. Just make sure you share the lane. Go dance like no one's watching. Go where you're absolutely sure that no one's watching. Go say I do. Then go out there and do it. Go Bears! Go Wolves! That's a wolf. Go, 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 go. And at the end of the day, when your tank is running low,
Go to sleep.
because tomorrow, we go on again.
Now, back to the Deron Harris Podcast.
Yo, what's good, folks? Welcome back. Okay, so before I went to break, I was going to break down or give everybody my theory as to why, or some theories that I have come up with myself to explain maybe why these type things are starting to happen. Because some people that I talked to, we've had some pretty deep conversations about things. And shout out to my white friends that have had these tough conversations with me, because we have had some tough conversations. And, shout out to them opening up and broadening themselves to understand what it is that I go through in this country and why I feel like I feel, why I'm afraid that there are these things. I've come up with these 3 theories. Now there's theories. I mean, some of these theories, they've been discussed by experts, I'm sure, but I just came up with these, and I wrote these down so that I didn't get off track and I could remember what I was talking about without getting too far off track. So I had to write them down because it's a handful. So the first theory I have is the social disintegration theory. Now, this theory suggests that hate crimes occur when there is a breakdown in social cohesion and a weakening in community bonds, economic disparities, lack of educational opportunities, fragmented neighborhoods. All of that can create an environment where individuals from different racial backgrounds feel disconnected and marginalized. This sense of alienation can lead to resentment, fear, and ultimately hate crimes as individuals seek to establish dominance or assert their perceived superiority. In other words, we just not getting along. We just not seeing eye to eye. We're not working together as a community. We separate ourselves. There's so many factors that play a role in that. You know, some people that they feel disconnected. I mean, they really do. They're disconnected. They just feel like they're not a part of society. And these people have, you know, this perception that they are not as good, while the other people have this perception like they are superior to everyone. And the minute that is challenged is when they begin to say retaliate. That's where you get Karens. Now, the next theory I have is, got something in my teeth. The next theory I have is the threat perception theory. And that theory states that hate crimes can arise from a perceived threat to one's own identity or group. When individuals feel that their cultural, economic, or social status is endangered by another racial or ethnic group, they may resort to violence as a defense mechanism. This theory emphasizes the role of prejudice and stereotypes in shaping these perceptions of threat. Fear of losing power or privilege can lead some individuals to commit hate crimes as a way to protect their perceived interests. Feel me? Again, Karen. Feel me? Jealousy. You feel threatened by me. For some reason or another, you feel threatened by me. So you lash out at me. You commit hate crimes as a defense mechanism? Yeah. That's what it seems like. That's really what it seems like. In a lot of cases. Now, the last one, the third theory that I have, this happens more times than not. This happens a lot. This is happening right now. As we speak. And that theory is the normalization and online radicalization theory. And that theory says the rise of online platforms has provided a space for hate speech and extremist ideologies to spread and become normalized. Online communities that promote racism and hatred can act as echo chambers, reinforcing existing biases and encouraging individuals to commit hate crimes. The anonymity of the internet, I hate that word, of the internet can embolden people to express extreme views that they might not voice in person. Basically, that's what I call internet balls. And over time, that exposure to such content can desensitize individuals to the seriousness of their actions, making them more likely to engage in racially motivated violence. They just see it over and over again. It's always. We're seeing over and over and over again. And there's places where you can go get it. There is a platform called Truth Social. I'm just going to say it. It's called Truth Social. If you want to go check it out, you can. But it's basically a place where you can just go say nigga and it's cool with everybody. You know what I'm saying? They call it Truth Social. What it is just say what the fuck you want to say. It doesn't matter about who or what or how. It not get canceled. So, there are platforms out there, and there are many more platforms out there that people use to coordinate things. How do you think January 6th happened? It was coordinated. How do you think it was coordinated? Online radicalization. And I wrote this. It's important to note that these theories are not exhaustive, and hate crimes are the result of complex interactions between individual psychology, social factors, and cultural dynamics. Addressing racially motivated hate crimes requires a multifaceted approach that tackles systemic inequities, promotes empathy and understanding, and seeks to dismantle the ideological underpinnings that fuels such violence. I got that underprinting words from a thesaurus. Another thing that I think has contributed to this is a lot of the new laws that have been passed in a lot of these, quote unquote Republican states. A lot of these red states. A lot of these red states are passing legislation that is just fucking beyond me. And it's crazy how they're just getting away around it. The people in Tennessee, there's a guy on the internet questioning all these people from Tennessee, and they just look like a bunch of douchebags. They don't talk. They look like a bunch of racist douchebags. And that's what they are. The ones that silenced the Senator Justin. I forgot what his last name was, but his name was Justin. They silenced him and put a gag order so he couldn't comment during their legislative meetings. And that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's because they have a supermajority of Republicans, so they don't have to listen to it. So they can make policy and dictate policy however they want to dictate policy, and they are making policy that harms black people directly. And they want to be able to get away with it. They don't want to be questioned for it. And they want everybody to shut the fuck up about it and take it. And that's what it is. And they're willing to fight for it. And that's the truth. Down here in our state, our governor has passed a lot of stop woke laws, right? Now, he went to this shooting in Jacksonville. He went to the vigil of the shoot. He went to the vigil. He had the nerve to go to the vigil. He went to the vigil. The man who put out the stop woke laws. By the way, the stop woke laws are put into place basically to diminish black history. They restrict black freedoms. And really what they really do is they empower a new generation of racists and white supremacists. That's exactly what they do. They have empowered people. You've disregarded our heritage and our history, and your followers have too. They've jumped right online with the people in the MAGA hats. They have taken us, black people, and have relegated us to second-class citizens in their minds permanently, no matter what. So help me, Trump. So this guy showed up to this thing. It's crazy. Another thing that I think makes it is the relaxed gun laws in Florida. Again, our governor down here in July made it legal to carry a concealed weapon. You don't need a permit. So not only is it easy to get guns in Florida, it's even easier to carry them motherfuckers into a store. He was actually quoted saying, he was quoted saying this. Now, I'm not saying this. I'm not putting any words in his mouth. He was quoted saying this. Perpetuating violence of this kind, this is just hilarious. Perpetuating violence of this kind is unacceptable, and targeting people due to their race has no place in the state of Florida. But in fact, many of his policies do exactly that. They do exactly that. They target and they hurt black citizens. Not only black and brown citizens, but mainly black citizens. He wants everybody. It is a big shining beacon. He wants people to know. He wants these people to know that we don't give a fuck about what you've done here or your heritage. It makes no matter to us. And by us, I mean his constituents. And by us, I mean all these motherfuckers out here in the sticks who go along with that, who have always gone along with that. So, like I was saying, he went to the vigil and he said that shit. Well, he said that at the press conference, but then he went to a vigil and he didn't say shit. He didn't have a chance to say shit because they booed that motherfucker senseless. And they should have. And they've even said it. This man has blood on his hands because, like I said earlier, he has empowered a whole new generation. And he has stirred up a whole new passion from the old ones. This new, reinforced racial separation and hatred ideology. Period. And he does it with a suit on. So it makes it respectable. So the fact is, these are the statistics. These are the statistics, folks. Hate crimes in the United States are on the rise. They are definitely on the rise. Everybody is seeing them. Gay people, everybody. There's been Asian hate, lots of people, Latin, everybody. But in the United States, racism against black people count for half of racially motivated hate crimes at 49.6%. And I'm not making that shit up. I got that from the FBI crime data statistic. 49.6% of all racially motivated hate crimes are directed towards black people. That's a heavy number. That means almost like motherfucking everybody's out to get us. And get this, and I got this, just so you know I'm not making this shit up. Get this, whites account for 56.1% of hate crime offenders, while blacks account for just 21.3%, according to the FBI crime data. And that's the fucking truth. Call it however you want to see it. That's exactly whatever. That's exactly what it is. And it's not us, folks. It ain't us. It ain't us. We try to keep to ourselves. We try to keep our business around our business, amongst our business. Our business is our business. We try not to let our business spill over into anybody else's business. That's how we do it. That's how we have done it. You know what I'm saying? What goes on in our community stays in our community. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been made to be that way. Anytime we try to grow any kind of self-sufficiency, it's taken away from us. It's meant to subjugate us and keep us subjugated. Everything is always meant, I won't say all, but a good majority of legislation always has an effect, a negative effect on black communities. And it's just tolerated. It's just tolerated as a byproduct of wanting to get a fucking highway piece built, or we have to suffer the most. There's been factories built over our burial grounds, and all kinds of things. It's like sacred sites to us have been just demolished. Our history has been lost, and now in the state of Florida, it's not even being taught. It's about to be a real slow bus down here in Florida, by the way, y'all, because they're just taking away all kinds of education. Real, actual education. Now, in recent years, like I will say, a lot of these hate crimes have been politically motivated. A lot of far-right extremism has happened. Candidates with that ideology are starting to make their way. And people are getting downright upset that Captain Orange might go to jail. They're just mad. They're mad that they're even bringing charges against him first. How dare you? But they're even more upset at the possibility that he could go to jail. And if he goes to jail, what will happen here in America? It's scary. And I think everybody needs to start thinking about that. And I think we need to start making a necessary push to get people who make this type of legislation out of office. And I don't care who it is, Democrat, Republican, black, white, I don't care who it is, to those people who stand by ideologies who hurt the black race, or hurt any race for that matter. They need to be ousted. Any person or any politician that makes a decision based on race, let me say it again, any politician that makes their decisions based on race need not to apply. It needs to apply to all people, all Americans, because that's what we all are, whether you like it or not. They have so much nerve to tell people, go back to Africa. Well, you motherfuckers brought us here. And while you're at it, why don't you go back to Europe? Because you weren't here to begin with. And how dare you stake claim to something that you stole so broadly in the middle of the day. In broad daylight, you stand up and you flaunt stolen property. You know what they should do? I mean, really. You motherfuckers came over here and did exactly what some of these motherfuckers in the hood did when they fucking took dudes' sneakers. You came over here, took people's property, and you fucking wear these motherfucking sneakers around like you fucking... That's the America that I know. That's the America that I know. Now, let's not get it twisted, okay? I love my country. I'm born on the 3rd of July. I've said that before. You know, there's fireworks. It's all cool. I love my country. I love the idea of what this country should be. But I also have to check myself and remember that when they were making up these ideas, I was not included. So in that, it's always going to be a fight. There's always going to be a struggle. And I've always got to be prepared to go through it. I got to hold my chin up. I got to fight the good fight. I have to keep my composure. I have to uplift and uplift my heritage. Because while we're talking heritage, while these people running around with their rebel flags talking about heritage, that's really not something I'd want to hang my hat on. So I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Deron Harris Podcast. And I may touch back on this next week because next week I think I'm going to I was doing a little bit of research. I think I'm going to do this podcast next week on the black massacres that took place in the United States all the way up until this massacre in Jacksonville. And I want to shout out those families and let you know that my heart goes out to you. My prayers are with you. And I'm doing all I can to make our voices heard so that we are respected and things like this don't happen to us. I'll make that promise. I will always shout it from the mountaintops. I'll make that promise to every black person out there, every brown person out there, every person of color out there. I will always stand up and I will represent us. I will always say that. I will always do that. Now, again, and I feel like I need to clarify this and continue to clarify it. I am not anti-white. I'm very pro-black. And I'm extremely anti-hate. So, I think that's going to do it for me for this week, folks. I want to thank my parents and my wife for being the greatest humans on the face of the earth. I want to thank my kids, all 4 of them out there making their way through life. I want to thank my best friend and producer, one of the whitest guys I know with the most soul, Jesse Yandel, for being my producer and giving me the courage and the balls to stand up and really put my voice out there. And I want to thank Gentry Thomas for giving me the platform to reach you all with. So I do appreciate you all. Last but not least, I want to thank you all for tuning into my podcast. Everybody who's continued to listen and the people who have listened and don't listen anymore and maybe check back in every now and then. I want to thank the people who haven't listened yet. I want to thank you in the future for listening to my podcast and giving me a chance to I don't know, to make you think about things in society. Yeah. I want to thank you guys. I really do. I want to thank my audience. I want to thank the people who have stuck with me, because I know sometimes it's hard because I babble a lot and I get off track a lot, but I really, really do want to say thank you for those people who have given me the start to finish, beginning to end support. So, okay. So like I said, I will see you guys next week, when I'll be talking about, I usually don't know, but this week I do know. Next week, I think I'm going to be talking about the Black Massacres here in the United States. So from everybody here at the Deron Harris Podcast, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Peace.
You've been listening to the Deron Harris Podcast. Subscribe to the show, give a good rating, and everything you need to know is at DeronHarris.com.